Hi, this is Wanda, and welcome to my podcast, A Seat at the Table at Hope, Joy, Peace, and Love. And today we'll continue reading our book, Joyce Meyer's book, Power Words: What You Say Can Change Your Life, by Joyce Myers. And we're on day 19, which is chapter 19. So let us start reading. And I would also invite you to just take a few moments with me, probably about 15 minutes maybe, and let's just go through this book together chapter by chapter. And if you like it, just give me a thumbs up or leave a comment. Thank you. All right, here we go. During Old Testament times, God people Israel were aware of the promised land he said he would give them. They may not have been aware of the difficulties involved in getting there. In fact, at times, their own attitudes, words, and actions made their journey much harder and longer than it had to be. When they finally got close, their leader Moses sent 12 spies into the land to find out what would be involved in possessing this promised place. And Numbers chapter 13, verse 32 tells us what 10 of the spies concluded. And it reads, "So they brought the Israelites an evil report of the land which they had scouted out, saying, 'The land through which we went to spy it out is a land that devours its inhabitants. And all the people that we saw in it were men of great stature.'" End quote. And so Joyce writes, that is not a good report. It was so discouraging and frightening to the people of Israel that they began to weep and grumble. They even talked about choosing a new leader and going back to slavery in Africa. That's Numbers chapter 14, verses 1 through 4. So think about it, she writes. One negative report influenced an entire nation in such a bad way, they wanted to totally give up on God's promise. They wanted to return back to back-breaking labor and harsh submissions to the Egyptians, just because of what a small group of people had said. But Moses had sent 12 spies into the land, and 2 of them, Joshua and Caleb, gave an entirely different report from the one the 10 had given. They said, and I quote, "The land through which we pass as scouts is an exceedingly good land. If the Lord delights in us, then he will bring us into this land and give it to us, a land flowing with milk and honey." And that's in Numbers chapter 14, verses 7 through 8. What a difference. The 10 spies gave a totally depressing report, while Joshua and Caleb spoke extremely positive with faith and courage about the very same place the 10 spies thought was so bad. This emphasizes the point that many situations in life have both positive and negative aspects, and the way we view these things determine whether those situations will intimidate and defeat us, or whether we will conquer them with God's help. The 10 spies spoke negatively about the promised land because they viewed it negatively. They chose not to see the positive aspects of it or the possibilities in it. And I'm just going to stop and put in my little plug. You know, a lot of times as we go through life, we see possibilities, and because we listen to negative people, it causes us not to step into those possibilities. But I would encourage you that when God shows us possibilities, to not let naysayers turn us around, especially when we know that it comes from God. Because naysayers, if they have their way, you would not move from where you are, or you would not grow, you would not get a better job, you would not advance, you wouldn't do anything but just stay put. So please listen to God's leading and not man, and God would always lead you in the right direction. Amen. And so I continue reading. The 10 spies spoke negatively about the promised land because they viewed it negatively. They chose not to see the positive aspect of it or the possibilities in it. I'm sure the promised land was like anything else people encounter. It has its pluses and its minuses. I doubt that every single thing about it was perfect, because nothing on earth is perfect. No matter how we wish we could deal with perfect people, work a perfect job, live in a perfect neighborhood, attend perfect churches, or manage our time or money perfectly. In fact, is that nothing is without its flaws or challenges. That's right. Nothing is without its flaws or challenges. Every person we encounter and every circumstance is a mixed bags of things we like and things we do not like. God does not want us to focus on the bad. He wants us to magnify the good. As I mentioned earlier, when I write about focusing on the positive, I'm not talking about closing our eyes to the legitimately bad things in life and never acknowledging or dealing with them. In other words, don't sweep your problems under the rug. My point is that we can live in reality and see things as they are and choose to view them with an optimistic perspective. Think positive thoughts about them and give good reports concerning them. The truth is, no matter how bad a situation may be, speaking negatively about it will not change it. When we speak badly about it to ourselves, we only push ourselves further into negativity. When we complain to others or use our prayer time to moan and groan to God, we make things worse. The only way to make a situation better is to go to God honestly and ask Him to intervene. Amen. We do not have to deny what may be wrong, but we do need to demonstrate our willingness to see the good in it and confess our trust in God to change it as He sees fit. Not my will, Lord. This is Wanda talking. Not my will, Lord, but thy will be done. And so back to reading. She writes, we could say something like this: God, I'm hurting right now because of my circumstances, but I know you have a great plan for my life. Yes, He does. Yes, He does. And I know you are moving me toward it. I believe you can use this situation for my good.